Hello viewers, here is a video to improve your English using a story. We must remember that everyone loves to hear stories, and if we constantly hear stories in English or we watch movies or serials in English, then our knowledge of the language improves without much effort. You don't really have to make a lot of effort in order to read a story or listen to a story as you will listen now. You will also get to read it because there will be the slides with the story on it. Since many of you asked for this, these days I'm doing the hybrid mode where you find the story and an audio along with it. When you listen to the story, in the first instance, just listen. Listen carefully and observe each sound, each word, each sentence carefully. Once you have listened carefully, then you can watch the entire video a second time, where you do listening and reading together. Or in the first time, if you've been busy reading, then second time, don't read. When you watch it for the second time, only listen. Because if you do both the things together, then you are missing the language part of it. You are concentrating on the story. The story is Pots of Gold. That is the name of the story. And it's a very interesting story. It is a story about a person and the kind of moral you can learn from the story. All these. But that is the meaning of the story. The interesting part which you might find is that, oh, I have understood the story. But that is not enough. Understanding is just one level. The next level you have to climb is when you are able to use the language which the story has used. The language becomes familiar to you when you start using it. Unless you use it properly, that is not of any use to you. Therefore, please pay attention to the language. When you start paying attention to the language, the first problem that comes to you is there are certain words and certain expressions which might be unfamiliar to you. Now, how are we going to learn the language? When the unfamiliar becomes familiar. Something which looks as though you understand, but which you are never able to use. This is where the problem comes. So we have at the back of the mind a huge passive vocabulary because we have been reading English, we have gone to schools and colleges where English was a part of our study. When we do engineering or we do any other subject, we do it in English. So we are familiar with English. But when it comes to using the language, there we fall short. And that is why listening to the story, reading the story is so very important. Now, you have to remember that these words, these expressions, these phrases which are used in the story have to become your active vocabulary. Active means they are in the front of your mind. Whenever you want to speak or you want to write, these words come to your mind immediately. If that happens, then your language is improving. That is why I have titled the video as Improve English. Not learn English, because I'm giving you many videos for beginners. Beginners are not the only people who are going to watch the channel. Others are there who are asking for higher videos, better videos than the beginners. That means you better your English. You make your English go a level higher. I want every beginner who comes to the channel to reach the advanced level of English. Please don't stop at that beginner's level. Please go to the advanced level. But for this, you have to do a lot of hard work and you have to constantly practice. Listening to a story is a great practice. Reading a story is a great practice. Only after doing this can you begin speaking. Speaking need not be immediate, but you must attempt to speak from the first day itself. Don't wait till you speak excellently. That will never happen because practice makes us perfect. If you speak with mistakes today, if you speak not perfect English today, then you have a chance of reaching that perfection. But if you don't speak anything, if you don't attempt anything, you are not going to benefit. Now, let us hear this story. Pots of gold. That is the story. Hear it carefully. Read it also carefully. Mark out the words which you think are difficult. And then you try to use those words in 10, 20, 30 sentences each. Those phrases, those words, you keep using in your own life contexts. If you can do that, then you will find that a lot of benefit comes to you and your English really improves. Let us move to the story. Here is the story titled Pots of Gold. Once there was a poor man who worked very hard. Though he worked the whole day, often he did not earn enough even to feed his family. But the man enjoyed great peace of mind in spite of being very poor. One day he had a dream. He saw that he was sitting in a forest all alone. Suddenly, a stranger appeared before him and asked, "Would you like to become rich?" The poor man was overjoyed. He said, "I'm eager to become rich." The stranger promised that when he woke up, he would find 5 pots of gold near the door of his house. Next morning, the man rushed out as soon as he woke up. Sure enough, he found 5 pots. He woke up the others and together they opened the pots. All the pots were full of gold except the last one. The 5th pot was only half full. Now, the poor man became richer than everyone around. He planned to spend his days happily with his family. But the empty 5th pot started troubling him. He thought he should somehow fill the pot with gold. Till then, he would not spend anything from the other 4 pots. So, the man started working harder than before. he had no time to rest. He began to eat lesser and lesser food so that he could save money and buy gold to fill the fifth pot. He did not give any money to his family because he needed every bit of it to fill the last pot with gold. Unfortunately, however much gold he put into the pot, it still remained half empty. The man was puzzled. Gone was his peace of mind. He was constantly worried. His life became miserable. Still, he did not give up his desire to fill the pot with gold. He continued to try, but failed again and again. His desire remained unfulfilled. One night, he had another dream. The stranger appeared again and said, "Are you happy now that you are rich?" The man got angry. How did the stranger call him happy or rich? He wondered. He was as poor as before. He had not touched any of the gold in the 4 pots. He had not allowed his family to enjoy the gold. He had worked till he was almost ready to collapse. His whole mind was filled with thoughts of how to fill the 5th pot. How could he be happy then? How was he rich? He replied, "I'm not happy. You promised me 5 pots of gold, but I got only 4.5 pots of gold. How could I be rich till the 5th pot was also full? So I'm not rich. I am worried and tired of trying to fill the 5th pot." The stranger said, "You should have been satisfied with what you got, but you became greedy." The man denied this. He was not greedy, he said. He was only trying to fill the pot because the stranger had left it half empty. The stranger said, "You should not have tried to fill the 5th pot. It was given to test you. Had you been happy with what you were given, you would have led a comfortable life. but now you will be punished. The stranger told the man in the dream that he would lose everything because he had failed the test. The poor man could not sleep for the rest of the night. With great difficulty, he waited till the next morning. Then he hurried to the room where he had kept the 5 pots. Alas, he saw that the room was empty. The 5 pots had disappeared. All the gold he had collected to fill the 5th pot was also gone. His family was starving. His health had become bad. He had made the worst mistake of not being happy with what he had, but trying to get more. Desire is the cause of all suffering, he realized. Now you have heard the entire story. The first thing you must do now is, whether you understood it fully or not doesn't really matter. The first thing is, can you put that story in brief 5 or 6 sentences? That is the first exercise which you need to do. Once you do that exercise, you will find that you are automatically beginning to speak. Most of you have problems in speaking. That is what you constantly tell me. And since you have problems of speaking, here is a simple story which you can say in brief, very, very short. So I will tell you in 5 sentences how we can narrate this story. There was a poor man who worked very hard but could not even feed his family. A stranger came and told him that if he wanted to become rich, he would get 5 pots of gold. The man got 4.5 pots of gold. So he wanted to fill the half pot into a full pot and make it 5 pots. He started working very hard. He lost his peace of mind and he became very unhealthy. His family was starving, but the pot never got filled. The stranger came in his dream again and told him that since he was so greedy, he would lose everything. And the poor man lost all the gold which he had put into the 5th pot. So you see, such a long story. I have put it into very short. Now what did we do? We used the simplest of words. We did not use any difficult words. We did not use any difficult sentences. We did not use any phrases which are of an advanced level. So if a beginner watches the story, if a beginner listens to the story and is able to understand, the first step is understanding. So if you have understood the story, then you can summarize it. The ability to summarize is an excellent ability for learning a language. You read the newspaper, then somebody asks you, what is the news today? So you have read 500 words, you summarize it into 100 words. That is about 6 to 10 sentences. What did you do? You understood the item was difficult. It had so much vocabulary and so many complex constructions. But you didn't have any problem because you could easily give the meaning, the summary of it in your simple language, in a language where you don't use all the complications that are there in the original. Here, of course, the story is simple, but even if you read something very difficult, you will be able to get the gist of it. The gist is the summary. The gist is the short form. The important points, that is what we call as the gist, G-I-S-T. G-I-S-T is not pronounced as gist, it is pronounced as gist. And this gist is what we are looking for. So I have told you now how when you listen to this story, the first thing you do is you give the gist of it. Then you start asking yourselves question. The man was poor. Did he become poor because he was lazy? The answer is no, he was very hardworking, but still he was poor. In spite of working hard, he could not feed his family. Now, where did he meet the stranger? These are all points in the story. He met the stranger in a dream. He did not meet the stranger face to face. He got a dream. How many times did he meet the stranger? He met the stranger twice, in 2 dreams. One dream at the beginning of the story, one dream at the end of the story. Now, what kind of attitude did the stranger have in the beginning of the story? The stranger was giving him 5 pots of gold. The stranger was making him rich. That means the stranger was giving him some gift. At the end of the story, the stranger is angry with him. The stranger is disappointed with him. Now, disappointed, you have, a word like disappointed. Then you wonder, what is disappointed? Disappointed means not to appreciate what the other person has done. Disappointed means to lose whatever faith you had in the other person. So the stranger had given 4.5 pots of gold. This man could have been happy, but he wasn't. He was looking for that half a pot instead of looking at the 4.5 full pots. This happens very often in life. So you can see the stranger describes the man by using some negative word. Do you remember? He says you were greedy. Greed is when we want more and more and more. That is called desire. We have also other words. If you eat too much greedily, we call it as gluttony. These are all difficult words. G-L-U-T-O-N-Y. Then you have, a person who is, stingy, informal word. A person who doesn't spend anything, we call it stingy. A good word for this is thrifty. And then you have spendthrift, opposite of it. I've given you an entire video on antonyms. So you can look at all these words. If you say greedy, then you can say generous. Antonym, opposite word. Then you have the word unfulfilled. Unfulfilled is the kind of antonym which has a prefix. So you say fulfilled, unfulfilled. His desire was unfulfilled because he couldn't fill the 5th pot. The stranger wanted his desire to become rich, to be fulfilled. So he gave 4.5 pots. In this way, by looking at the words in the story, you can improve your vocabulary on your own. Many of you are asking me questions. How should we learn on our own? Please think. God has given us a great gift. The gift is the gift of the mind. But we don't want to use the brain. We want only somebody else helping us, or some machine helping us, or some technology helping us. Remember that the human brain is a very powerful machine. We need to use it. So work hard and be intelligent in working hard. It is smart work, not only hard work. Once you do this, the story makes sense. Then you have some phrases like peace of mind. Now, peace of mind means when a person is relaxed, when a person is not stressed out, the person is not worried, the person is not constantly thinking negative thoughts. So the poor man has peace of mind. The man with 4.5 pots of gold has no peace of mind. Only for one sentence he enjoys with his family. When he opens the pots and sees there is gold, he enjoys with his family. Otherwise, he doesn't. So you can see how we always want more. We are never happy with what we have. That is important. Of course, wanting more in learning a language is very good because you improve. But wanting more without a reason, you haven't learnt the basics and you want more, higher and higher. There are books like, vocabulary in 1 week, or, learn 100 words per day, quick vocabulary improvement. What happens? You learn it, you memorize the word, and you don't use it. You memorize it. After some time, your memory fails and you forget the word. You never use it. Therefore, you don't learn it. That kind of improvement is no improvement at all. Therefore, be careful. Use the story to improve your grammar, because so much of grammar is there. Every sentence is a structure. I have given you so many videos on grammar. After watching the videos, watch this story. Then you identify which is a noun, which is a pronoun, which is an adjective, which is a preposition, why some preposition is used, why something else is not used, where conjunctions are used, where articles are used, where you have active voice sentence, or where you have direct speech with inverted commas. All these videos are already available on the channel. You watch those videos, then you use it to apply to the story practically. In this way, you will benefit. I wish you all the best and thank you.